Good morning everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Belinda here from Visualised DNZ. I've got a super cool project today. I saw this on Gayle Agostinelli's channel maybe 4 days ago and was super excited by what she did. She learnt it off somebody else, so I'll link to her channel and to the video, and then you can follow that through to the originator of the idea. Because she's linked that person in her video. So if you're interested in watching sort of like everybody's different versions, then you can follow that chain through. So what she made was these circle pockets. So it's made from a circle, and it's got a big pocket at the back here, it's got a smaller pocket there, and then it's got these two little side pockets or tucks. So you can either put something sort of like this in there, about that size, or you can put like a little ticket or something in each side. So however you want to do it, or little tags. So I thought it was a super design. It's actually really easy to do, and I made this one up this morning just to see if I could remember how it was done, and it wasn't a problem. I remembered how to do it, and it was super easy. Excuse me. And just really effective. I love it. I haven't made anything like this, so I thought that's my project for today. Please do excuse the noise if you can hear it. It's super windy here today, like super windy, and I can't do away with any of the noises that you might be hearing, like down the chimney, the clear light on the deck to my left, out through the French doors. I've shoved paper in the cupboard that always rattles in the wind, so I've eliminated that, but I can't do anything else about the rest of the noise, so I do apologise for that. Yeah, really windy. So I have prepared some stages just to make it a bit quicker, but this project uses double-sided paper. Well, Gayle used double-sided paper, and I have very little double-sided paper. So I've got this really cute bit of scrapbook paper out of my stash, and I thought this would be really nice for the Playful Days journal, but it's single-sided, and I could just make it up single-sided and have it white on the inside, but I wanted to just experiment, and I don't know whether this is going to work or not. But I chose out a serviette or napkin, whatever you want to call it, from my stash that I thought might be okay. Now I might be making a headache for myself, and the little ducklings may not be placed where I want them, and looks like I'm going to end up with a couple of heads randomly in places. But nothing ventured, nothing gained, eh? So I'm just going to do that first so that it has time to dry while I go ahead and show you on the bits of double-sided paper that I do have. So I've got my Mod Podge here. This is the antique matte one, which I haven't used for quite a while. So it's got just a little bit of separation on top. So I'm just going to stir it in to make sure it's all blended. And this antique matte has a creamy yellowy finish, which I'm fine with. It's the only one they had in stock when I went to buy this years ago. And as you can see, well, you might not be able to see, I've only ever got through half of it, so it lasts for quite a long time. And I'm not interested in buying any more, certainly not while I've still got this one. I often use PVA glue mixed with water, but my mix that I've got at the moment's got too much water in it. And so I saw this when I went to grab it and thought, I'm going to use this. So I'm just using a sponge brush just to spread it round, because I don't really want to damage a paintbrush. I'm just going to give it a good coating. So you can use PVA mixed with water, you could use glue stick. I often use glue stick, but since this is going to be sort of folded and have things put in and out, I just wanted a more durable finish than what the glue stick might provide. So, and I really need to use up this Mod Podge. I don't want to have it go off on me. And I've just got a bit of baking paper on my mat underneath just to catch the runoff, so that it doesn't goober up my mat. Oops, I'm sticking to it, trying to hold it down as I spread the Mod Podge. Right, hopefully that's a good coverage. Whoops, I see I think where my finger was holding it. Gosh, I don't know why I've got such a froggy throat at the moment. It was fine before I started filming. Typical, isn't it? Right, now try and lay this down without getting myself in all sorts of bother. So it's just going to end up where it ends up, I think. And I'm not worried about wrinkles too much. I think that's just part of the charm of this type of thing. Of course, if you want it perfectly flat, then just take a little bit more time. I'm just trying to get it done quickly. No, that's stuck there for life. So it's going to be what it's going to be. And I think this will be the inside, but I'm not sure. When we come to do it, we'll see how this one's going to turn out. It may be a failure, but got to give these things a go. Oops, looks like there's some spots that I didn't get particularly well. Either that or the Mod Podge dried on me. So am I able to... Yep, I can just ease that up a little bit and get that bit. Right, now going back in over the top with the Mod Podge should really get any of those places where I've failed to get it down properly, and it will just create creases, which is fine, and this will give it a durable surface, so when you're putting things in and out of the pocket, it should hold up quite well without ripping or getting otherwise damaged. So how is everybody today? I am feeling super grateful. I launched my Patreon yesterday, and it's quite funny. I was feeling quite sort of nervous about it and didn't expect to be successful on it. You know, I thought it's going to sit there for months and nobody's going to find me, nobody's going to want to support me or anything. And my very good friend Lydia, thank you, was the first one to sign up as my patron. But she was joined by 2 others as well, and I'm just so grateful, so thankful. It's very validating as an artist, a crafter, a creative, to have people believe in you and want to support you. And it's a huge thing. So I went to bed just absolutely ecstatic, like it blew me away. I'm still blown away that 3 people chose to sign up in the first day, and that's just super amazing. I can't tell you how amazing that feels. It's just amazing. So yeah, so I'm feeling really upbeat, very happy today, very ready to crack into getting done what I need to get done. Although somehow I made it to 10 o'clock this morning without starting my video, so I don't know how that happened. Time ran away on me, I guess. Right, so I'm going to put that aside to dry, and since it's such a warm day, it shouldn't take too long, I hope. But I did not think about where I was going to put it. Okay, let's just go there. Hopefully there'll be no disasters of it flying onto the floor or something, because then it will get covered in dust and I'll just have to throw it away. Right, so let's start off with this one. This one, what I've done is I've grabbed a bowl This is slightly smaller than the one that Gayle used, but whatever size you like, you can grab a plate, a bowl, you could use a compass. If you've got a circle cutter, then use a circle cutter. This bowl is a 8 3/8 inches across, or 21.2 centimeters. So just to give you a rough idea of size, it's not terribly important what size you use, as long as it results in the size pocket that you want. So whatever size bowl you have, your pocket's going to end up half that width. So bear that in mind when you're choosing the size that you want. Choose the size of pocket that you want, and then find something that's double that, so you get about the right size. So I just put the bowl upside down, position it where I want, and draw around it with a pencil, which I've already done. So just grab a pencil and run around like so. For this one, normally I put the bowl right close up to the edge, so I'm not wasting so much paper. But for this one, I wanted more of a leg, if you like, on the side, so that I can turn this offcut into a side pocket, into a corner pocket, sorry. Whereas when I do it in the right up against the corner, I've just got this tiny little piece, and then the bits that are left on the side are too small, so I just chop them off. But I wanted sort of more real estate on this one, because this is a heavier paper than the other ones I'm going to use. Not as thick as this bit. This was more cardstock like. This one's sort of a bit lighter than that one, but heavier than the others. And this one is just this really cool Christmas plaid. Yeah, however you pronounce it. And this is My Mind's Eye from, is that the brand name? I don't know. All of these papers were part of a stash that I purchased from someone who was destashing. So random assortment, not necessarily ones I would have purchased if I was going out to buy paper, but I bought it in bulk for a really good price, very affordable. So I'm just enjoying using whatever is in there. Though I have been a bit hoardy, because there's one bit of each thing, maybe two of some things, and it's like, oh, they're so pretty, I haven't had that before, I haven't seen it before, and most of these probably can't be purchased anymore, because it's probably 2-3 years since I bought them off the person who was destashing, and she would have had them a while. So most likely they're not available anymore. I thought this was a really nice one to work with. So just cutting out the circle. I have pre-cut the next circle, so I thought I'd just do one on camera, just to show you the whole process. And doing the whole lot, it's still quick and easy. These aren't difficult. Don't be put off by the shape and the sound that a circle pocket sounds difficult, because it's not. Right, so there I've got a bit more depth here to play with, to turn it into a really cute tuck or a decoration on the side of a page or something like that. So with this one, I could worry about the direction of the pattern, but I don't think it particularly matters. What I need to do now is find the middle. So it's worked out at basically 8.5, just a tiniest little fraction under 8.5. So I'm going to go 4.25, because the size of your bowl or something, when you draw around it, is going to be slightly bigger than the bowl itself, or the plate, or whatever you're using. I need a sharper point on my pencil, really. So I'm just going to make, not at 1/2, I need 1/4. a light pencil mark just where the centre line is, and now take one side and fold it into that pencil line, trying to keep it straight. So I'm going to use the grid on my mat underneath to line it up against and try and make it straight. And I'm not using the pattern because I had it flipped the other way. I didn't know whether it was going to be straight or not. It's straightish, and I'm happy with that. I'm not worried about that. Right, now flip it around, line it up on your grid, and flip the opposite side into the middle. So you don't want to overlap them in the middle, just so they meet or almost meet. Right, and that's not straight at all, so let's straighten that up a bit. This is, I think, the hardest part, is getting it straight-ish. There we go, that's not too bad. Right, and give it a good burnish, especially the heavier the cardstock or paper that you're using, the more you'll need to just make sure it's nice and creased. Right, now if you need to erase that little pencil mark, I've found that on my other one it's actually hidden anyway, but I thought I'd just rub that out to show you. Right, now from here you take what's going to be your bottom, so check which way you want it, and fold up however deep you want your bottom pocket to be. So there's no measurements, there's no right or wrong, just however you would like your pocket to be. And so I'm going to go there, and this is cracking. It's probably because it's old rather than the fault of the paper. Yep, it's cracked quite markedly on that end and a little bit on this end, so I'll need to cover that. It's not the end of the world, it hasn't gone right through, it's just the pattern on top of the cardstock really. So we can fix that with some washi tape or something. Okay, so there we go. So into the middle with the two sides, and then up at the bottom however much you want. Now we need to create these little side bits. Super simple. Fold this down, and we've got these fold lines down the sides and one across the bottom. Doing this might even take care of that where it's cracked, we'll see. And I like to cut it just above that fold line. And that's so that when these fold in, they hopefully don't catch on the bottom of the pocket. They may need just a little sliver taken off, possibly. Right. I think this one needs a little bit more, just a little sliver taken off, just to make sure it all folds up nicely. Just the tiniest of slivers off there, and the other side is good. So that folds up nicely, and then these ones get flipped back the other way, like so, and there you've got your pocket. So quite often you need to trim these ones a little bit if they show at the bottom, and that's because of can be how you fold it, but more likely it's where you've cut it. So just trim off any overhang, being careful not to cut into the bottom of your pocket. Bit of those wee slivers. Yep, so I will still need to put some washi on that. And I think I'll do that before I glue everything together. So I'm not sure if I've got a washi that's going to suit. Oh, maybe this one. I think black might be the best option I've got. I really do need to extend my collection. I find it very difficult to sort of match things up. from my limited selection, which again is mostly from somebody who is destashing, so it's mostly their collection of what they bought and what they preferred, not necessarily what I like. It's a bit bright, that green. Got a few different blacks here I could go with, or a bronzy colour. Actually, the bronzy might be quite nice. I think that blends in a bit more rather than being kind of too focal. Right, so let's just do a little bit of fix up where that paper's cracked. And I'm just going to run it right along the bottom so that it doesn't look out of place when you see it in between the pockets, in the little side pockets. I'm just going to trim off the end. And there. And wrap that around. There we go. Now you can't see the cracking of the paper, and you've got this cute little additional decoration down there. Right, now you definitely don't need to ink these if you don't want to, but they do look really good when you give them that edge. And if you do want to ink them, then do it before you start gluing. Otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult to do. So, doing these little curves. So that's the side pocket and the bottom pocket, and then these ones. Now do check for any pencil marks that you might want to erase. You might get one depending which side you've put the pencil line on, whether it shows at the top there, but if you ink it will cover the pencil mark anyway. So another good reason for inking is you can skip the step of erasing any marks. Gosh, that's so windy, it's so loud. Right, now gluing. I'm using my premium craft glue just because my tacky glue is a little clogged up at the moment and I haven't had time to unclog it, so I thought I'd just use this for speed, ease. Oops, it's ballooning a bit out the bottom. The downside with this glue is it does leave glue strings, so I just have to be mindful that I don't put glue where I don't want it with those strings. It's a bit more glue than what I needed, but so I'll work quickly so it doesn't balloon up too much. So along the bottom on those two side bits, then along the sides. Gosh, I hope you can hear me. Along the sides on this one. Trying to keep it fine. Unfortunately my glue is warm, so it's just coming out at a great rate of knots. And then along the bottom of these two side ones. And just going to squeeze it towards the bottom so it doesn't glue too much of mine shut. And on the bottom there, and close it so I don't lose any more glue out the top. So trying to squeeze it out the bottom rather than push it further into the pocket. Right, there we go, and then just finishing off around the edges where you haven't already inked. Oops, I need a bit more ink on my sponge. I am so very sorry about the racket. It's so noisy and it's pushing me to speak faster, which is really weird. Right, so there we go. I hope you agree that was actually really easy to do. Super fun, great little pocket. I'm going to enjoy that. So let's make another one. And I've already cut this one out. It is double-sided paper, but it's a lighter paper, so this one shouldn't crack. You do need to work out what you want to be where. You know, if I wanted this pattern on this part, then I would have had to fold everything the other way. So if you fold it up and then think, actually I'd like it the other way round, then just fold it before you ink it and before you glue it, so you can check and see which way you prefer round if you're using double-sided paper. Okay, so for this one I'm not worried about which way round these go, because then particularly ones like this, that it's not a whole heap of difference. Sort of a textured green this side and a textured green with diamonds on this side, so like it's not super important to me which way round it goes, because you'll see both in different parts. So again, I'm just going to measure the middle there, and now we do our try and get it straight thing, as straight as we can. The first fold is actually the easiest. If you haven't got directional paper, like I don't consider this directional, then that first fold is the easiest, because there's no real crooked way to fold it. It's the second fold that then becomes the one that you want to get straight. So lining up the top edge so we can try and get the bottom edge straight, which seems to be very hard to do for me. Not doing particularly well getting it straight, but I do think it is straight enough. It's quite forgiving, really. Right, so fold the bottom up. I seem to be doing it roughly about the same depth every time, so that must just be what my eye likes. So crease that along there. Yep, no cracking this time, so that's good. Then open it out, do our 2 cuts. So I'm just going to cut up a little bit higher this time. And this side. And fold those back on itself. So this is a fairly neutral pocket, which I suspected would happen because it's not highly patterned or anything. So definitely, you know, once you've made the bases, you can then decorate them up however you wish, more or less depending on what's on the paper already, what style you're going for, what look you like, all those types of things. These would also make awesome happy mail. If you filled all the pockets in with bits and pieces, that would be really, really cool for someone to receive as a bit of happy mail. Right, so let's do some inking. I'm going to start on these long curves. And these long curves you don't need to do all the way round to the bottom, because from a certain point it's going to be hidden. So just make sure you do deep enough to that any exposed area is going to be done if you're going to do the inking. Then this curve here, and then this one here. Oh, the wind. I find it very, very draining, this wind we get here. It's called a nor'wester. It's very hot and dry, and unfortunately it has caused problems not too far away from here, but far enough away that it's not an issue for us. A huge fire in a community about 15 minutes away, about 200 hectares I think they said of pine forest on fire. Yeah, so not great. So that broke out last night, so they were fighting it all last night. The wind did drop a little bit overnight, so they would have had a little reprieve, but now it's picked up massively. So it's going to take them a long time to control. Fortunately, no property has been lost yet, no houses or anything, but you know, they'll be trying their hardest to avoid that. But some people have evacuated just because the smoke's so bad. So yes, this wind is really, really bad for that type of thing. Just got a few lumpy bits of glue there, so wipe those off. Oops, I glued. Well, that was interesting. I glued the wrong side. It won't matter, but I do need to glue the right side. What a silly thing to do. Silly, silly girl. It will affect the depth of my pocket, but not too drastically. I'm so busy thinking about the wind and the people that are at a community centre because they've evacuated that I forgot what I was doing. Right, now down the sides of these. My glue is being such a pain. Oops, and I'm getting it everywhere. But when I go to decorate, it's going to cover any... Oh, well, if it doesn't cover, I'll just make sure that I do cover the bits where I've got it on the front. Little glue marks. I must say the wind is particularly distracting as well. Oh, getting glue everywhere. Right, one more and then this one is done. We can ink the last little bits around the edges. Oh, I think I need to throw that wipe away. It's so full of glue now. Right, there we go. And let's close my glue before I lose it all. Give this a quick ink around the edges. I hope you can see the difference that the ink makes. I know some people don't like it or think that, you know, everything looks vintage because everybody inks everything. And yes, it can make it look vintage. But you don't have to use like Vintage Photo, which is probably the most popular one to use. It's the only one I've actually got of this range. But you could do it in whatever colour you like. It doesn't have to be vintage colour. It could be pink or red or yellow, blue. You know, if it suits your project, use what you like and what you've got. Right, so there we've got 3. I just think they are super fun and they look really cool. So there we go. I'll put that one on top in case it glues itself to something. Right, let's have a look at my... It's still damp, so I can't make that one up yet. It is drying, but it's not ready yet. How are we going on time? Not too bad. So I've got this other double-sided paper here, so let's go ahead and do this one while the others are drying, and hopefully it will dry in time. Otherwise I might just have to make it up and then report back as to, look at that, my cloth has glued itself to my pencil. Oh, yuck, glue everywhere. Right, I need to throw that away so I don't glue anything else to anything else. If you get what I'm saying. Right, so there we go. Draw around the bowl, super simple, and then cut the circle, which, you know, some people don't like cutting circles, but honestly there are ways and means to hide little chinks out if you don't cut it perfectly. And you know, who said it has to be perfect? It's going to look beautiful even if it's not perfect. You know, and same with the folding. If you don't get it perfectly straight, as long as you get it sort of within reason of being straight, it is going to look good. And nobody's really going to notice unless they take out a ruler and say, oh, that's a millimetre wider at that point than it is at that point. It's crooked. I mean, they're not going to do that, are they? So don't be too worried about getting things so correct. And believe me, I'm talking to myself as I say that. Right, so I'm just going to trim off that bit. And then when you've done this, you've got some great scraps to work with from your leftover paper to make tags and journaling cards and things to go in these pockets. So we probably won't have time for me to do that today. Right. Which way round do I want it? I might do this one with pattern on the other side this time. Right, so again, finding my midway point-ish. See, even my midway point is not entirely on the midway point because it's not a round number, like it's just slightly shy of 8.5 inches, which makes it very difficult to try and do a complete half, accurate half, because it would be just a smidgen under 4 1/4, which, I mean, the point on my pencil is wider than that difference, so in fact I don't really have a point on my pencil, being probably half the problem. Right, let's try and get this straightish again. It looks not too bad. Oh, I think that one's probably the best one I've actually managed. Right, I do like the pattern on this side of this paper. I think it's very pretty, very subtle. It's blue on blue, but it's a lovely dark, dusky. Is that a thing, dark and dusky? Well, I'm calling it dark dusky because to me that's what it speaks of. So, right, open it back out and then just make these 2 wee cuts. Fold that up and fold these in. See, this one would be really nice if you had a deep blue ink. You'd edge it in blue ink and that would look really nice. Right, just trim off these overhangs. And these overhangs are formed because I'm cutting slightly above the line at this point, which is giving me more on these parts, which I've then got to trim off. So that's why I'm saying it's about where you cut it more than how you fold it. There we go. Get rid of my little snippets there. Grab out the ink. And this is a darker paper, so I am going a bit heavier with the ink just so it shows. There's no point if you ink it up and then actually can't tell that it's inked. This black would also look good edging this. I think that would look quite smart, quite nice. Right, here we go. So again with the glue, now will I go back to my tacky glue? I mean, this balloons as well, so we could end up with the same issue going on. Yep, it's already coming out, but let's give it a go. It tends to not come out as fast as what the other glue does. and it doesn't do the strings, so I'm not trying to juggle the strings as well. Yeah, summer is going to be fun, isn't it, when I'm constantly dealing with my glue doing this. See, that's too much glue. I don't want that much. So just taking a little off with another cloth, which is going to get gluey very quickly, I can see too. So trying to move quick. I need to try one of those really fine nozzle bottles, and that might work a bit better to stop this. I also find the less glue you have in your bottle, the worse it becomes for spilling out the top, and this one has less than a quarter left in the bottle, so quite often when it gets to that point I put more in, you know, change bottles, put more in, and then when I've got a few that are sort of to this level, put them all together. And it does, I don't know, it must have something to do with the amount of air inside the bottle. It doesn't cause it to balloon out the top quite so much if there's more glue in the bottle. So probably need to grab out one of my other bottles and just put this one aside for now. So maybe I'll do that before the next video, because I've got a video to record for my patrons, and I've got a video to record for tomorrow in case I go out. I'm not sure if I'm going out tomorrow, but probably nice to have a video so I've got the option to go out if I decide I want to, because I need to go and get myself some swimming togs, and I can't do that unless I go out with my husband to his work so that I can go to the shops. Right, there we go. Didn't get in too much of a gluey mess this time. It's got a little bit of, it's not quite glued down. What am I trying to say? It hasn't glued down flat, that's what I'm trying to say. But by the time you stick some things in the pocket, it'll be all good. All perfectly good. Right. So there we go. We have made 3 pockets. So they're the 3 pockets we've made today. This is the one I made this morning before the video. And then this one, it's still a bit tacky. Yeah, right here it's still quite wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to end the video, let this dry and make it up, and then I'll pop a photo of it up on my Facebook group at Visual Vibes, so that if you're interested to see how it worked with the decoupage napkin on it and being the thinner paper, then pop along and have a look at that. So thank you for joining me, everybody. I'll pop Gayle's link in the description box as well, so you can go through and watch her video if you'd like to, and then follow in her description box for the person who came up with this idea, which I still need to go and watch that person's video as well. But great pockets, great fun. I hope you give it a go, and let me know if you do. So that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.